Welcome to Behind the Badge. I'm your host, Chief David Molloy, Director of Public Safety for the City of Novi. And I'm very honored to have two distinguished guests join us here today. We have Detective John Zabick. John serves as our School Resource Officer in the Novi Community School District. And we have our Emergency Management Coordinator, Ray Garbarino, also here with us today. So gentlemen, thanks for coming out today.
Thanks for having us, Chief.
Ray, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, your education, your experience, and kind of what it is that you do as an Emergency Management Coordinator for the City of Novi.
Okay, I've been with the City of Novi for 15 months. Prior to that, I worked at Northville Township. I was a police officer there for 28 years and retired as a lieutenant. While I was there, I supervised or commanded the Detective Bureau at various times in the Road Patrol, various times. I was also involved with Western Wayne SWAT, where as a team leader I was there for 12 years. And did a lot of things with our department as far as training and active shooters and things like that. I got a bachelor's degree from Saginaw Valley State University. While I was working at Northville Township, I obtained my master's degree from Eastern Michigan University and also attended the Northwestern School of Police Staff and Command.
Excellent, excellent. In emergency management, I know you really are over some of our most precious assets, our volunteers, our CERT team, and things like that.
Yeah, it's really multifaceted. I work with all the city departments to make sure that the city is up to speed on all their emergency procedures and disaster procedures and things like that. I coordinate the CERT team, which is a large group of volunteers, about 250 people from the community that will come together in the face of a disaster. So we do continuous training and things. And one of the other aspects is public education. I work with local businesses, different community groups, and individual citizens, and basically try and pass along some information on how to stay prepared in the home or at work.
Excellent. And John, you in your current position now as a school resource officer for just over a year now?
Just over a year, correct.
And how do you like that so far at the high school?
It's a challenge, but I love it. I love the position. I never thought that I would enjoy it as much as I do. It's a great opportunity. The people in the school district and the kids are a lot of fun to work with.
Tell us about your background, because you kind of came from an academia world in your previous employment.
That's right. I graduated from Wayne State University in 1993 with a Bachelor's of Science in Criminal Justice. And at that time, I was working as a cadet for the Wayne State Police Department. Upon receiving my bachelor's degree, they hired me as a full-time police officer down there, and I spent the first eight and a half years or so of my police career working as a police officer in the Educational Institute, if you will. While I was there, I did get trained in what's called crime prevention through environmental design, and I was able to put that use in helping to facilitate programs and procedures on the university setting to help make it a safer place, and to use building designs and staff flow and things like that to help maximize and benefit and bring up the level of safety that was present there at the university.
And you've been now with the City of Novi for just over 10 years now.
Yep, I'm going to be entering actually my 12th year, which means 11 complete here
Okay.
at the beginning of February, and celebrating 20 years anniversary in law enforcement at the NMA this year.
Outstanding. And I understand you're getting ready to go back and work on your graduate degree at Liberty University. Congratulations
Thank
on
you.
that. And that's one of the things I think I've always admired about you. You never settle. You're always looking to better yourself, improve in your growth and development, and that's outstanding.
I hope to do that.
Yeah. And currently with the school resource officer, some of the things you're working on in the schools?
Well, we're always concerned about the safety, and we want to be proactive in terms of what we can do to maximize the security of our students, obviously as the first priority, staff and faculty, people who make their careers in the school system as well, by continuing with lockdown drills and constantly going over the things, the policies and procedures that we have in place to make sure that any changes that we can make, we do so.
And that's one of the things you guys both kind of coordinate together, the lockdown drills, not only for the Novi School District, but also for Catholic Central, Northville, and the Walled Lake District as well. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, back in 2006, the state of Michigan passed a law requiring all schools, any school with a grade between kindergarten and 12th grade, it was mandatory that they do 2 lockdown drills every school year. So our schools, all the schools, private, public, do those lockdown drills. We try to visit as many schools during these drills as often as we can, and we'll critique them. But basically what the purpose of the drill is to protect them if there's ever an outbreak of violence in the schools, or if there's some type of a hazardous spill outside the school, to contain them in the school and keep them safe in that way. But it's a great program. I just had the privilege of working with a lot of Novi school children. They were 7th through 9th grade, I believe, and while I was working with them, I quizzed them on some lockdown procedures and things, and they've been doing it all their school career, so they've become very adept at that and very proficient at it, and it's really just kind of a part of their school life now.
It's kind of probably what we used to know as the kind of the duck and tuck drills that we used to do in elementary school, get underneath our desks in the event of a tornado.
Yeah, and even I'll go back further than that. It was air raid drills. We would go in the basement, going to school in the 60s. That was a concern. So
excellent. And John, I know our school district, they've added a lot of security measures over the years, cameras and doors are locked and people have to be buzzed in. And I know one of the things I think continues to, plague the district is that sometimes people let the person in behind them. What can we do to get around that?
Well, that's a concerning dynamic because, as human beings, we want to be polite, we want to hold the door for somebody else, but there's also a security risk that's involved with that because you never truly know who you're going to be holding that door for. And while they may seem innocent enough, you just truly never know. And we always try to encourage parents and encourage staff to make sure that they let that protocol be known. Hey, we understand you want to be polite, but let us do the filtering of who comes in the building and make sure that we have proper accountability, people checking in at offices after buzzing like they should be and whatnot.
Yeah, it's just some very basic common sense, and I think you make a great point. We all do want to be kind, we all want to be friendly,
Yep.
But we also have to be cognizant of the environment that we want the children to be safe. So a lot of good information. Thank you both. We're going to take a quick break here, and we'll be back with the second part of Behind the Badge. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Behind the Badge. We are still joined by Ray Garbarino, our Emergency Management Coordinator, and John Zabick. John's a detective with our organization assigned as the School Resource Officer in the Novi Community School District. John, can you tell us about an initiative we started just about a year ago right now where we're kind of redeploying our officers in a more of a community policing approach when it comes to school safety?
Sure. The department has done a great job in being proactive and getting out in front of some of the necessary concerns that plague us in the current environment. And getting patrol officers to be more active in and around the schools is definitely a benefit to not only the staff and the faculty, but most importantly to the kids. And the initiative essentially has the patrol officers making more rounds at the schools, introducing themselves and engaging with the administration, the clerical staff, the facilities people who, of course, are the people who know the building more intimately than anybody else. They're a tremendous asset in the event of any kind of emergency. So the patrol officers are able to familiarize themselves with the physical layout of the building and just have a general sense, I should say a better sense of who's typically, coming in and out of the building.
Right.
Who are the people that are most likely to pose a threat versus somebody who's just a normal occupant of that facility.
And I think it's important too to point out that our officers typically, they're working in a section for at least a minimum of 6 months. So they're not hopping from one end of the city to the other. I mean, they're assigned to a geographical area, and it's getting to know what's going on in that area and getting to know the principal. And I know recently at one of the elementary schools we had a faulty belt that was causing smoke in the building, and the fire and police first responders arrived on the scene, and one of the first individuals they were able to connect with was the facility staff who, and within 15 minutes, we evacuated the kids because of the smoke, but within 15 minutes those kids were back inside the school. But it was a good little test of procedures. It was cold at that time, and I know we were working with the bus garage. They were sending over 4 or 5 buses so we could put all these kids on a warm bus while we mitigated the smoke. But another example of how having the first responders know what they're going into and the physical layout of the building is absolutely critical.
Absolutely. That relationship, not only with the physical building, but with the staff, is something that, is vitally important in the event of an emergency, because you want to know who has access to this, who am I going to be able to call that can, get this done, and being able to have that relationship is a tremendous resource, not only to the school district, but for the emergency responders, so that we can get there, get the job done as quick as possible so that everything goes smooth.
And I know I've received a lot of positive feedback from not only principals and administrators, but also from citizens in the community who are in those schools, as well as whether they're educators, teachers, paraprofessionals, or volunteers, parents who are coming in to help in their kids' classes. They've indicated that they have a greater sense of security by seeing that uniformed officer. And it's not that someone's in there 8 hours of the day, but they're there at least once or twice to just pop in, and sometimes they just sit out front and they'll write their reports in their scout car and type the reports as they're in that parking lot. So that omnipresence, I think, is important.
It is very much so, and I've heard similar things from people from the board offices all the way down, praising the program and very thankful for the efforts of the patrolmen that are out there.
It's just another example of the proactive partnership, your position as the school resource officer, but so many proactive partnerships we have with the Novi Community School District. It's truly refreshing that we're able to work with such a quality group of administrators and educators. So, Ray, another thing that I know you were involved in which is critical to what we talk about in terms of school safety, is recently we trained all of our officers in a new tactic in terms of how do we respond in the event of an active shooter. Can we go into a little bit about not necessarily the tactics themselves, but the platform in which we conducted the training?
Sure. They developed a training program. It's called OAKTEC. And the goal of the program was to get all 44 law enforcement agencies in Oakland County basically on the same sheet of music. So they would come together with common trainers and they would rehearse and practice different types of tactics. Lot of concentration in the active shooter field. And the benefit of this is that if we have an incident at a school, or even, we just recently did an active shooter drill at 12 Oaks Mall, we're going to rely on other agencies to come and assist us because the job is it's so massive. So we can bring somebody from West Bloomfield or Farmington Hills or the Sheriff's Department together, and they can work alongside of Novi police officers, and they all know that they had the same training and tactics, the same terminology. Just makes them a lot more efficient as a unit, and really a benefit.
Yeah, and I know they had a goal. OAKTEC has been formed for about 3 years now, and I think the first segment that we went through was our small squad tactics, where we all train on the same platform and how to deal with a civil disturbance or civil unrest. And then the second part was the actual active shooter, and I believe OAKTEC trained nearly 980 police officers in about a 6-month period, all on the same platform in terms of how to respond. And there's so much value in that. When our people attended the training, we would send 4 or 5 people at a time, but they would be able to train alongside deputies, officers, people they don't know, but that's probably the reality of what's going to happen when they respond if there's an event of an active shooter in our schools.
Right, and I think, in these situations it's very dangerous to the public, but also the officers, and working with people and knowing that person a little bit better, having a familiar face, you develop some confidence, and I think that's an important part. And you also learn from other agencies when you work together. So.
Yeah, I know Assistant Chief Victor Loria, he's been on the OAKTEC board, and he's been kind of in charge of a lot of the planning that goes into this. Officer Tom Orlowski, Detective Jeff Brown, they were 2 of our primary instructors, and they were literally training hundreds of people throughout the county. And it's comforting, and residents and parents should rest safely knowing that we have those capabilities. We've conducted that training. The officers actually would experience a bit of a sting because the training was real life, and that they would use simunitions, which actually, not a bullet per se, but it actually causes a little sting when you get caught by that.
Right.
So, gentlemen, any closing thoughts for the viewing audience in terms of what we can do? Ray, I know from your standpoint in terms of emergency response, we're continuing to hammer that message. The first 72 are on you just to get the message out, be prepared.
Right, we really want people to be able to handle, most emergencies on their own for 72 hours. Not that they would ever have to wait that long for some help, but if they can take care of themselves, then we can handle other incidents or assist other people.
And I know this past winter when we had several of the major snowstorms, it was evident that people were listening because you couldn't go into a grocery store, particularly during some of the bigger storms. People were prepared. I mean, they were getting 3-4 days of food and some of the shelves were bare. So I guess that message is getting out.
I think the attitudes have changed over the last 10, 12 years, and people know that they have a responsibility to take care of themselves also.
Well, thank you for continuing to get that message. And
Thank
John,
you.
anything from the school side in terms of what we can do to make it better?
Well, I just always advise people that the most important thing for us as law enforcement is to know. If you see something suspicious, something that seems out of place, don't hesitate to pick up the phone and call us. It does very little good to hear about it through the grapevine a couple days later, but if we hear about something immediately, we have a chance to get in and take care of it if something is up. But if not, then it's no harm, no foul to give us a call and come out and take a look.
Absolutely. We have the resources to investigate those things. Let us do that. And if it turns out to be nothing, oh well, we still mitigated it. But thank you, gentlemen. You both provide quality service to our community, decades of law enforcement experience. Certainly proud to have you guys as colleagues, and I appreciate everything you do.
Thank you, Chief.
And to you, the viewing audience, thank you for tuning in to Behind the Badge. And until next time, stay safe.